Okay guys, so today I'm just going to talk about a real simple tip that will help you open up the hips in the downswing, and it's going to be about utilizing the trail leg. Now, next week we're going to talk about this in much more detail, but as a nice little tip, something that you can take in towards the weekend to help you play better golf, this is what I want you to concentrate on, because I know that I've shared this recently with a few online students and it's made a vast difference. Now, there's one thing that we just need to do first. The first thing is, in the backswing position, we need to make sure that we're triggering a good rotation and we're getting the feeling of turning the pelvis into the leg. Now, turning the pelvis into the leg, the way that you kind of work on this is you just make sure that in the backswing, you're getting a feeling that you are resisting that trail leg. That trail leg is trying to push pressure in towards the ground by trying to stay flexed. But as your pelvis turns into the leg, as I'm demonstrating here, what then starts to happen is, as I trigger more kind of pelvis rotation, if you like, or rotation around my spine, then the trail leg starts to straighten up. But the key thing is, we're going to be talking about how to use your trail leg to push open the hips in the start of the downswing, so you have to make sure you prioritize this first and foremost. So as a real simple drill, you'd want to put the club across your shoulders. You'd want to try and rotate your shoulders to 90 degrees, try and keep that trail leg flexed, so you're putting pressure in towards that right leg like so. So for my trail leg there, keeping it flexed, putting pressure in towards the ground, and you should get an activation in that glute area. That's the first thing that we want to do. Now, we know that the big difference is when we watch professional golfers, and we've been looking at some of the data recently on the channel from Gears, you know, motion capture from professional golfers in a three-dimensional sort of world. We know that as the pros start the downswing, they pull that lead hip back. That creates loads of space to bring the hands and arms down into. And what amateur golfers tend to do is fire that right hip or that trail hip early, saturates all that space, and tend to get a little bit stuck. So we know that there's an issue on this trail side. This is the problem. Firing that up early, that makes you sort of stand up and get flicky and scoopy, as opposed to keeping that trail hip back as you pull the lead hip back. This gives you the ability to drop that trail shoulder down, and if you like, drop the club into the slot. So what you've got to try and do is you've got to start to get the feeling that once you've loaded in this backswing position, you're now going to get just a simple sense that you are pushing off that trail leg. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on. I'm going to be feeling like in that backswing, I'm loading in towards that trail side, and then I'm basically just using the weight pressure from that right foot to simultaneously get the feeling that I'm moving to the left as I pull the lead hip back. And this is a big thing, because some of you might think that's a really simple thing, but what I tend to see is a lot of students that are uncertain of how to start the downswing. And let me just talk about the two common points I tend to see. I tend to see the first golfer who might demonstrate a good backswing position potentially, but what they think to do is they go, oh, I'm just going to rotate. And what they do is they end up spinning out. And what I mean by spinning out is that there's just no linear motion in the golf swing, so they're not moving towards that left-hand side. This is a problem, okay? This type of motion here, and from the side-on perspective, that's going to be the kind of look of the golfer who gets into that early hip extension. Another problem is that kind of golfer who, as they sort of start that downswing, again, doesn't really know what to do and doesn't really use the ground, and potentially just starts pulling the arms down a little bit too soon. Now, I did a video on this last week. We're going to talk about this in much more detail, but that's not what we want to be doing. The arms are going to be moving down in the golf swing, but we want to be making sure that we're using the ground to the best of our capability to give us the best biomechanical sequence that we know exists from data that's been captured. So the big thing that I want you to start just playing around with this week, and it's just, like I said, it's a simple tip, just something that you can put in towards your consciousness, and it's just, okay, well, as I rotate back, I'm going to feel, yeah, that load in the glute, weight pressure underneath that trail side, but then I'm just going to get the feeling that I'm basically just pushing right towards, I'm pushing my weight and everything towards that lead hand side, as I simultaneously make an effort to pull that lead hip back, which will make us look this way. And you can just start to get like a bit of a feeling that if you were to concentrate on that trail foot, that when you rotate in the backswing, you might get a sense that the weight is, you know, kind of on the outside part of that trail foot, because you're turning that pelvis into that leg. And then you want to just get the feeling that you're progressively just utilizing that foot just to push you open like so. So you can kind of see the way that my right foot is moving more this way. So it's not a motion which is this way straight on towards the toe. It's a motion where it's progressively going from the outside part into that sort of trail part of my foot. And that's just me pushing myself as I use the ground. And like I said, we're going to talk about that in more detail, but I think a real simple tip just to help you play better golf going in towards the weekend is just swing up to the top of the backswing and just use that trail leg to push yourself towards that left-hand side as you trigger rotation. And I think you'll find that you won't get as stuck just with that simple thought. But you guys can let me know. See you soon.